Love a good Friday morning. What's up, everybody? How you doing? We got another Inside Star Citizen. I am awake for the weekend. I don't know if that's a saying, but here I am. We're gonna go through it. I'm gonna throw in some context. I'll talk about what I see, and if I can offer anything extra on top of the glorious information we're about to get, I will. Hopefully it's a good one. Let's see what they've got for us. There was no sound.
Star Citizen is a big game with big ideals, bigger aspirations, and some of the very biggest spaceships.
Much big.
And while there's lots to do in the persistent universe, with more and more things being added to every patch, it's these spaceships that sit at the center of everything. That's why each year the community votes big in our annual Ship Showdown.
Grande.
Your chance to determine the best of the best and award the winners with new and exclusive paints.
Buyuk.
And since this year's event starts up on Monday in like 4 days, we've got a special all-vehicle sprint report for you this week. A sprint showdown, if you would. And we're gonna start with a big look at the upcoming Drake Corsair.
What's another word
over the course of 2
for
consecutive sprints.
Another language. Oh well.
As the ship moves through gray box phase, you can see the exterior detail beginning to take shape, as this sprint focused primarily on the nacelle and connecting areas of the starboard side of this asymmetric.
Okay, so I recently talked about how we might see the Corsair for 318, but if they're still doing hardcore gray box stuff at this point, then I don't know. It's getting close.
Vehicle to build them out so they feel properly big and chunky and structurally and functionally sound, as is the Drake way. Now, the lighter gray areas are the original concept mesh, which serves as a guide to artists to maintain the original scale and shape whenever possible.
It's a big ship. Look at that. That person's pretty small in comparison to this ship. That's pretty big. It's a little bit bigger than I was picturing.
To maintain the original scale and shape whenever possible. The Drake visual style is often about layering, with the interior structure poking out from beneath the more clad exterior, and as Graybox continues, it'll get closer and closer to the detailed mesh of the concept while maintaining the performance and optimization standards developed since it was first envisioned.
Oh yeah, it's a big boy.
Now, not every part of a ship moves through the pipeline at the same pace, as you can see here with the remote turret jumping from concept mesh straight ahead to final art, since it's a relatively small, self-contained, and not needing the same level of iteration part as the rest of the ship.
Looks like a
And
Drake
we also
turret.
have this look at working out the landing gear, a hallmark of any gray box phase, making certain it's both stylish enough to maintain the manufacturer look, while functional enough so that the physics system won't topple the entire ship over. Unless the wind kicks up, or Burks lands it. Savage. And on the inside, this sprint also featured work on the crew quarters with a mix of gray box and final artwork coming along quite quickly that's been enabled by efforts of team members from previous Drake ships.
It looks good. It looks Drake. It's just ship art though, so. This is going to be an interesting ship because it's sold and advertised as an explorer, but I think a lot of people won't be using it as an explorer. It seems like a good general purpose multi-crew ship though, kind of like the maybe a competitor to a Constellation or an MSR, at least in the current game.
And then 2 weeks later, after the conclusion of another sprint, you can see more additions made like the loading ramp, a combination of several pieces that fold down and extend out to allow access through the rear of the ship. And yes, it's big enough for an Ursa and other similarly sized ground vehicles.
So these are all, I'm sorry, I said earlier that I didn't know about the timing. These are all in the past, so it's very possible that they're well past this stuff by this point in time, but still with a month and a half, maybe. Okay, we probably have like 3 months. No, this could make 318. This will probably make 318. Yeah. Don't quote me on that.
Let's move up the ramp into the cargo hold, where the process of gray box is being tweaked to include material assignments, adding a bit of color to the otherwise gradient-only phase and allowing artists to better see and gauge shape breakout without having to dip into final art early, as can sometimes happen. Here's another look at the landing gear
Holy
2 weeks
crap.
on with improved animation and detail.
That's huge. This ship is like very I want to say it's misleadingly big. I don't think of it as being this large, but the landing gear is massive.
And perhaps most excitingly, this sprint was where the wings were attached to the finished nacelles, necessitating 2 separate attachment and transformation systems for each side due to the asymmetrical nature of the ship.
Love asymmetrics.
Which you can see here with these little doors that open to allow folding up and then close down flat when extended for maximum aerodynamics.
Oh, aerodynamics.
You may also notice the thruster flaps are being made to extend and contract to adjust the amount of force being exerted.
Oh, that's fun.
Gotta love that Drake functionality.
It's gonna
So
fall
feedback
apart.
during this sprint was to push for a greater diversity
Those little fins gonna open up and just fall off and be like, here you go, maximum power. We're not even here anymore.
between the attached sensor rods from the concept and the mounted weapons on the wings, with additional considerations regarding the front-loading hangars on planets and stations and the potential adjustments that may need to be made to the wings. And, well, we're just gonna have to see how those things progress over the next few sprints.
Do you guys think those are actual live motion caps in the back? They're still doing all the construction, so I can't imagine. Maybe they're just showing old motion caps from the last studio. Interesting that they have it up in the background, though.
And while we're on the multi-sprint look at
Ooh, the
spaceships,
tugboat.
let's check in with a little tugboat that could, the Argo Srv, which entered gray box phase with 1 artist on the exterior and 1 on the interior, and those eagle-eyed viewers may notice that the ship has grown just a little bit in the cockpit area to allow for the enter-exit animations from the pilot seat.
There's more
And while
walking
we're in
space.
here, let's take a look at the early gray box phase of the inside. Yeah, you can see here that staff are taking craft from the raft.
Still very bare because it's in the gray box phase, but it's got those Argo looks, you know, especially like the cushioned seat thing. Trademark orange, simplified geometry, again, gray box, but still Argo's tends to be more angular, kind of boxy geometry and stuff. Looks good. It's a nice view, that's for sure.
Especially in the aft.
I wonder how the readout is going to work with you having the tractor from the back. If somebody else is going to have to activate the tractor beam, or if you do it from the pilot's seat.
Because we're not daft. I should stop this graft before I get the shaft.
Just go.
Because no one laughed. And then 2 sprints later, we can see the SRV much farther along in gray box phase, getting all the main shapes in, beginning the discovery of material breakup, and really just refining the entire model overall.
Not gonna lie, the silhouette looks different than I thought of. Like this, it looks different landed than I've always pictured. I guess we always see it from above in the concept art.
All the main shapes
or
in,
below.
Beginning the discovery of material breakup, and really just refining the entire model overall.
Is that a... That's not an airlock right there in the middle, right? That's something else. That seems like a weird place for an airlock with the thruster being right there, but it is an interesting shape.
Discovery of material breakup, and really just refining the entire model overall.
I think it's too small to be an airlock.
Yeah, you could say it's enough to make one shaft. I'm sorry, I have a problem. To make up for that, here are some follow-up images of the Banu merchantman from the same time as our Alien Week segment back in June. Mostly to showcase how important having the right FOV on your camera is in avoiding duckbill platypus face.
Also, look at the freaking intricacy of this ship. Like, how complex this ship is combined with the size of it is crazy. What are we gonna do with this ship? Holy crap.
Same ship, correct FOV. Sorry, Ben. And moving from ship to ship feature news, you can see here the first iteration of the vehicle's salvage HUD for the upcoming Vulture, Reclaimer, and more.
Love me some iconography. So what do we got here? Surface integrity. Okay. That's fun. That's, I guess, a way to control how much power you're putting in. The salvage icon. which I guess is just, hey, you can salvage this. The cutter icon. Okay, so they're going to have different things based on what you need to do for certain parts. The cutter icon, I don't know if we're actually going to have, because we only have cutting T0 so far. But at some point, you will have to cut off chunks of the ship and then bring them into your ship to munch them down. So I guess that's probably in anticipation of that. Tractor icon, obviously, will be a popular one in the next couple of, I would say, like within the next couple of quarters. It seems like tractor beams are starting to be a thing that might be in the game soon. Weapon data icons, probably showing just what, I guess, the status of your lasers, and then gimbal icons. Okay.
Now on the left are all the details that are target relevant. The remaining surface area, your remaining cargo space, and extraction rate. And on the right, things like type of nozzle, cutter, and tractor, the various attributes you'll need to manage, and present range.
Okay, so okay, so the cutting laser, the salvage tool, that's probably the difference between the mining laser and the mining extraction tool. And then we also have the tractor tool. So that's 3 different things, it sounds like, 3 different components that can be changed out for salvagers. And since you have 2 nozzles, total of 6 different components that you can change. What is that, 9 options? I mean, I guess it depends on how many choices we have. Then they, let's see, tell you the size of your target, or is that yourself? The size of your, I don't know, size and speed of what? Your lasers? Your nozzle? Your range? A decent amount of information laid out, but really I want to see it in action before I know what the heck is going on here. But it's clean. It's simple. It's got a Drake vibe to it. I wonder if this is a Drake-specific salvaging interface. Probably not, because they're going to the Reclaimer as well. But it definitely has... It has a kind of a look that feels a little bit more themed than the general HUD. But it does still fit. It also probably depends on the coloring. I don't know. I'm rambling.
And then you can see their first, still early implementation in-engine, as seen here on the Vulture, and then on the turret from a Reclaimer.
Well, there it is in action.
And the
so
implementation.
They're using the scraper tool, standard scraper, diameter. Okay, so this is talking about the readouts of what we're doing, the diameter of your laser, so you can expand the laser in and out, the speed at which you are, I guess, scraping, I don't know, and the efficiency that you're hitting based on probably how close you are and the amount of power you're putting in or something like that.
In-engine, as seen here on the Vulture, and then on the turret from a Reclaimer. Now for how all this works, what the final implementation looks like with a full UI and VFX, and with the internal functionality that ends with a nice crate of materials that you can sell or trade,
Coming
well,
soon.
There's still some time between now and the release of Alpha 3.18, so you can expect to see more as we get closer to release. And as a neat bonus, work on the gimbal system for hull scraping has led to new technology that may eventually change the way all gimbals work. What you're seeing here is variable drag and speed based on size and weight, both for the gimbal itself and the item attached to it. What this ultimately means is more customization for players, allowing for faster, smoother gimbals with smaller, lighter items and weapons, and a potential removal of the size restriction for weapons on gimbals, letting players one day use them with weapons of a hardpoint's maximum size, with the requisite trade-off in drag and speed.
So that might be what we're seeing then in terms of speed over on the side, is the speed of the gimbal, maybe. But it also looks like you are selecting sections of every ship when you're salvaging it, which is interesting. I wonder if that's something that's already part of the ships that have been created, or if they've had to update ships to say, okay, this one's split into this section and this section and this section and this section. Now you can salvage those sections separately. I really hope that's something that's just already built into ships and they don't have to go back and redo stuff. Let me listen to this again real quick.
Gimbals with smaller, lighter items and weapons, and a potential removal of the size restriction for weapons on gimbals, letting players one day use them with weapons of a hardpoint's maximum size, with the requisite trade-off in drag and speed. It's a great example of work for one system potentially leading to improvements in another.
Also sounds like more balancing.
And then, in preparation of one of the biggest
yes.
Life in the Verse changes coming sometime next year, The Hammerhead just had a sprint retrofitting it with internal power relays, a necessary
this
component.
Is the first time we're ever seeing relays. We have been wondering and waiting to figure out what the heck is going on with these. This is a huge part of ships. So 2 years ago, I know I always bring it up, but 2 years ago, we got these videos showing us how the power systems are going to work and how power will be transferred over the course of the or the length of your ship. And they had all these relays here. They talked to us about power plants and turrets and fuel tanks and batteries, which are things we've already known, but really we had no idea what to expect with relays. Finally, we're getting a first look
of the resource management system that is at the center of everything from engineering gameplay, life support, increased time to kill, on-site repair, and the foundational basis for true multi-crew gameplay.
So I'm guessing the relay is this little block right here. And basically this can die and you have to go in and replace this and push the thing back in. I highly doubt anything else here is going to be really all that functional. I think for the most part, it feels like it's the same way for components. They have a block of stuff. They make it look like it's a big piece of machinery, but then it really depends on one small piece that's replaceable, which I think is a solid way to do it.
On-site repair and the foundational basis for true multi-crew gameplay. Now there's still quite a journey ahead for resource management, but it's exciting to see the work beginning to get integrated into the persistent universe proper.
Engineering gameplay.
Now, of course, those are just the updates on the ships that we can currently tell you about ahead of CitizenCon and IAE on this special Showdown Sprint Report. But maybe you're asking yourself, hey, Jared, Ship Showdown.
Which means they definitely have surprise ships for those events. I'm sure we all expected that. We've seen it in the monthly report, but he just confirmed it.
2952 doesn't start for another 4 days. Surely you've got something more than spaceships to show us.
Ground vehicle.
It's still a little bit early,
Inventory.
but I suppose we can tease this look at recent tests of the UI card system, a brand new way to take building blocks and display it dynamically and diegetically throughout the persistent universe in Squadron 42. Just don't tell anyone.
Oh, animations. Okay, so we've been talking about this on those monthly reports quite a bit. They've been talking about the ability to display holographics and UI items on curved displays. That was like a big one in, I think, July or June. And we've been hearing about this card system all year in the monthly reports, finally getting to see it. It's good to always get that sort of feedback of, hey, we're working on this. Okay, we'll show you what it actually looks like. Ooh, that's cool. Love some holographics. Oh, this reminds me of the old days. The good old days. And look at this. This is so close to the actual UI they've concepted. It looks pretty rough. And I'm guessing this is previs maybe? I don't know. They said in Indonesian, but... Ooh, boy. Yeah, no, that's far too responsive. Can't be real.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Corsair, asymmetrical explorer from Drake, is making pretty solid progress through the ship pipeline. That ongoing work on salvage and hull scraping may yet lead to positive changes for the combat experience through gimbal improvements. That work is already underway, retrofitting some of our ships for the enormous change resource management will bring later next year. That FOV...
Did he just give us a when? Did he just say next year for resource management? I mean, I know we were kind of predicting that, but don't predict things. I was really hoping it'd be next year, but I thought we stopped with the dates.
B is super important if you don't want 36 duck memes of the Banu merchantmen. And that Ship Showdown 2952 begins this Monday, and it's your chance to decide the best of the best over the following month. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee, here inside the performance capture stage, where characters from Star Citizen and Squadron 42 will be brought to life by tremendous performers as time goes on. We'll see you all here next week.
So from what I've heard, this kind of a setup for a motion capture, given obviously the costs of the actual space, but the rigging, the camera systems, the amount of different angles that you need with those camera systems, the lighting, all the stuff that goes into these kinds of studios is ridiculous. This place is expensive, and we don't know really all of their ideas for what's going to happen here. All we know is that they're going to do a lot of motion capture for Star Citizen and Squadron 42, which still has 2 more episodes that come out after this first one. So they've got a lot of work to do in here, but honestly, this is such an investment. Like, they must have so much motion capture that they're going to be doing for these games, which is cool. It says good things for the amount of variety we'll get from people and places, and I guess, fidelity that we're going to see when we are seeing NPCs and AI in the game. But geez, this is a big investment. I hope that we get to see and hear more about it at this year's Faux Citizen Con.
Will be brought to life by tremendous performers as time goes on. We'll see you all here next week.
An interesting episode. Honestly, the UI update was the most exciting part because UI is terrible and we really, really need it. And we read about UI updates constantly in the monthly reports. It's probably one of those things that we read about most and never get to see. No star map stuff, no HUD rework stuff, no lens and visor rework stuff, no AR marker stuff, no UI readouts for any of the upcoming gameplay. So like that little bit of footage, that's pretty valuable. And honestly, not something that we get to see often. So I would go back and check it out and, see how you feel about it. Obviously, it's not finished, but it looks pretty cool and it looks nice and integrated into the environment. So I like that. Anyways, though, this has been your Inside Star Citizen review for this week. Keep an eye out for the upcoming podcast episode. Got a monthly report video coming out in a couple days on the main channel. And subscribe for more if you like Star Citizen content. And I'll see you all next week. It's like me trying to describe why I just bought that spaceship. Not actually, though.